Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us in this amazing conversation that we're gonna have. My name is Aaron Landeros. I'm the regional manager for Latin America at AngelHack. And for those who don't know what AngelHack does, we are the world's largest and most diverse global developer ecosystem. We carry out a series of open innovation events with companies, startups, and government agencies all around the world. And basically, this to make ideas, bring new ideas to life, and make change happen. Before starting, I would like to make a quick announcement, and this is that unfortunately, Federico from Cabat is not going to be able to join us due to personal matters. But having said that, we are really, really excited that Daniel have in also our community in Latin America to have João, co-founder of Gympass, and Renan, director of FinOps and strategy at iFood. And I would like to give the word to them so they can tell us a little bit more about who they are, what they do, what their companies do. And if you want, Joao, we can start with you and then we give it the word to Renan. So welcome both.
Great. First of all, thank you very much, Aaron, for all of you guys. Well, just to present myself, my name is João Barbosa, Brazilian. I am also a Gympass co-founder. So basically, Gympass, it is a platform, a complete well-being platform that our mission is to make the well-being accessible and affordable for everybody. Okay. So basically, we offer a B2B or a company benefit to allow people to have access not only to physical activity, for mental health, nutrition, everything related in a complete solution for wellness for everybody. So we already have operations in Latin America, US, and also Europe. We started the company in 2012, so 8 years, 8 years and a half that our journey have started, and we're just at the beginning for now. That's it.
That's great. I don't know if you're aware, but actually AngelHack was also founded right around 2012.
Good.
Yeah, we have something in common.
Yeah, Renan, we can go with you. Please tell us a little bit more about you, about iFood.
Sure. Thanks AngelHack for this opportunity. iFood actually started in 2011, a year before both AngelHack and Gympass. iFood is the largest food delivery in the world outside China. We were born in 2011, as I mentioned, and we act in the food delivery space, groceries, and we also have our fintech arm as well. I'm in charge of what we call financial operations and strategy, and been with the company for a few months now.
Well, after this quick intro, I would like to give the word to my colleague Diana so we can start the conversation.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you both again for being on this panel. It's really exciting and great to talk to two unicorns out of Latin America. So I am just going to jump into it. Would love to hear from both of you based off of your perspectives from these questions. But one of the first things that we were most interested in, and for those of you also who are on the call today and listening in, I will say that we would love to hear your questions and thoughts as well. So please post those throughout the entire conversation in the chat, whatever questions, comments, thoughts you might have. We'd like to kind of take care of those towards the end of the call. Okay, so Renan, João, what were some of the biggest challenges or decisions as early stage companies when you started?
Well, I think as all the companies, we started as a marketplace selling daily passes. So there, we pivoted and changed our model at least 5 times until we reached the point that the business model that we have so far. So we almost bankrupt twice. We changed it and pivoted the business model. We started to sell something that it doesn't work. We started to cannibalize the gyms and the partners, and we started to lose the partners after some time. So we saw that that's not going to fly, and it's not going to drive value for all the ecosystem that we generate. So the most important part it is when decide that, okay, that's not gonna work, and when you try, you have to change. At the same time, it's a huge trade-off, because if you're really doing an innovation or starting something new, because we started as the pioneers, like there is not a other company, another benchmark. So, okay, the business model works, the idea works, or it's just the way that we are selling that we have to change. So the trade-off between, okay, let's change the business model, or let's pursue or continue to insist in this idea, it's always tough. And biggest challenge for us, it is to decide what we will not do, what we can do and what we will not do at the beginning, because at the beginning you don't have time, you don't have resource, and you don't have people to execute everything. So you have to be very selective and choose one fight and try to be the best as possible in this first fight. And as get some results, okay, let's try and engage in another one. And when you are starting, there are a lot of opportunities, ideas, this could happen, or this could be good or not. So the biggest challenge for us was, okay, let's focus in just one thing and try to execute well.
And I can imagine during that period, when you talk about like what not to do, it's not only what people are suggesting you should or should not do, but it's also like about the bandwidth. So yeah, like, do you have any ideas like on how to navigate through that? And, you know, how do you take in information and at the same time dispel it, or just be like, okay, we're not going to focus on that now? And then how do you communicate that with folks who are like basically giving you those types of suggestions? And they might be investors, or they might be, you know, just colleagues. Just curious.
I think the most important part, like you never have the certainty that something will work or not. So you need to get or grab those 51% of chance that or certain that you have that something is good, and think that put yourself that it is 100% until how far you want to go and try it. Okay. And here is grab all of those ideas, try to prioritize, okay, the one that it's a 51% chance that will be easier, you get a better traction at the beginning, try to pursue that, and afterwards try to exploit and go to the second one. But it's always difficult, because always you see, okay, we have this opportunity, we can do, you have the illusion that you can focus or do twice, or have to focus in different topics, but it's just to be concise and aware that, okay, grab one that you have 51% chance to get it right, and try it, pursue it until a point that what it is the limit of the test, or what it is the expected results that you want to see for it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So
Yes.
Renan, yeah, do you have some insight for iFood?
I do, and it's pretty similar to Gympass. I believe the ability to stay focused on your priorities, and the ability to make trade-offs is something that has been with us since the beginning. We continue having the challenge of staying focused, and the way we do it here. We have two ways of doing this. First, we have very short planning cycles. So instead of planning for the entire year and do all these huge planning exercises, we plan 3-4 months ahead with our projects and of course the budget. And we also use the concept of now, next, later, and we're very disciplined in sticking to it. So we choose what we're going to do now, we choose what we're going to do later, so it stays in the radar, and we choose what we're going to do next, and then what we're going to do later, and we also choose what we're going to kill. And again, it's very important that we stay disciplined to those options.
Is it ever hard to choose the kill part? It sounds a little bit like, what is it? Marry, shag, kill. It sounds a little bit like that. But yeah, is it ever hard to actually kill things off and you really just want to hold on to them?
Yes, it is. It is, of course, because you have you stay attached to the idea. If it's an idea that comes from an employee, employees usually stay attached to the idea. if it's an idea that comes from an investor, it's also, you know, it's a conversation that you need to have with the investor. So it is, but we are intentional in separating all those 4 types of ideas.
Okay, great. So, so out of curiosity, in your view, how has the technology talent, specifically like in Latin America, how have those gaps evolved? So maybe not in the technical side, but also in like leadership and high level executives. Like, what are the gaps that you guys are trying to fill right now in Latin America?
No, I think like talent, always it is the bottleneck for every company. So always you want to get better people, you need more people, not only in technology, but also management and leadership. But at least for now, it is cool to work in a startup or have a great proposal. So it's much, you don't need to convince great people that it's cool, it is nice, and you have a good perspective if you work in a startup, not only the unicorns here in Latin America, but also the early stage. Before, for example, when we started, it's really difficult because the people want to go, or the good talent, always the MBAs goes to the consulting firms, the banks,
where the money is.
The traditional companies, Unilever, Procter and Gamble, those big brands, Microsoft. Okay, I want to stay here. Why? I want to leave to work with some guys and try a startup. So it was like just the black ships that usually to decide for this different type, or mainly we hired a lot in our personal network. So the people from university, the people who already work it, that I have this personal connection, that, okay, I trust on you, let's do that. So it was really tough to get talent. But nowadays, I think even the people who leave or is finishing the university, or even during the university, they are talking, okay, I want to create my own startup, I want to work in a startup. So nowadays, the startup world, it is the first option and not the secondary option or alternative option. So I think the awareness, the success of the companies that we had here in Latin America, not only iFood, Gympass, but so many unicorns, a lot of good histories, a lot of money flowing to the market. So it is very good to the ecosystem and also much easier to attract the talent. It is a huge fight between all the startups and all the companies trying to get the best talent, but at least the awareness and the availability is much better.
Okay, yeah, because I do feel like in the past years, not even that long ago, it wasn't quite as welcoming to be part of a startup. Everybody wanted to, like what you said, go to like that big name, get the, you know, better salary, but to invest their time and energy into a startup was something that I don't know, just wasn't either, it just wasn't regarded, or it was something that seemed a little bit scary. So what you're saying is like you feel that there's definitely a shift, or has been a shift, and now the community, at least, are you speaking to Brazil or throughout Latin America, that is opening up?
Yeah, overall, Latin America much better, not only with the awareness, but also with the number of companies, people willing to do that. I remember when we started in Mexico, it was really tough to get talent. Now, search, or we have Kavak, we have other fintechs that are going very well, that are the awareness and the willingness of people to leave good jobs, or the traditional jobs, that they are good talent, mainly moving towards startups. And also in the leadership side, not only young guys like before their 30s, but also people with more experience, like in their 40s, 50s, that they already have a very consolidated careers, also moving for the startup world, that it's a very good sign. And also it's good to have more experienced people with different backgrounds that are to support the overall industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Renan, do you have?
No, I agree with João. As a matter of fact, I remember when I left college many years ago, and back then the career goal was either to become a public professional or join in one of those large multinational organizations, which is nothing wrong with that. But there wasn't a entrepreneurial type of career goal back then, and we see more and more, as João said, by coming from the success of those startups in Latin America. I also believe that the work, the culture and work environment resonate better with people getting out of school today than more, let's say, traditional companies. However, on the other side, we do see a lack of tech talent in Brazil. It is becoming harder to recruit data scientists and developers. It's to some extent it became like a in Brazil called rouba-monte. You hire from iFood, hire developers from Gympass, and then Gympass hire developers or scientists from iFood or from the other tech companies, and we are very strategic in the way we hire, and more importantly in the way we develop people. So knowing that we won't be able to hire all the tech talent that we need, we started a few initiatives to develop technical talent, technology talent. Those initiatives are in public schools in Brazil. We're even training or delivery boys or delivery team, the drivers, in data science, in artificial intelligence. So a driver who wants to have another career and probably join a tech company will have our support with all the training and education that we are providing.
So it's kind of like a holistic approach. Where does that come from? Does it come from the companies, from the government? I mean, if you're saying like we're educating these people to understand this bigger picture, where does that come from?
That's a we were always mindful of our role in society. So just to give a few numbers, we delivered in March 2021. We delivered 60 million orders in 1 month. We have 180,000 drivers in our network. We serve 250,000 restaurants. So we realize that we play a very important role in society in Brazil, and that role gives you additional responsibility, and so for us it became very clear that from the size that we have and the impact that we have in society and people's lives, we should do more. So we established goals in education, which is what I just mentioned to you. I shared a couple of initiatives, but we established a very well-defined goals in education, in environment, and inclusion. So it came from this realization that we play a very important role in society in Brazil.
Wow. That is really impactful, and that's amazing. And I'm just going to call this out because your background, can people actually follow that QR code to iFood? Is that what's happening?
Yes, it is, and the QR code is for our donation program to support families in Brazil. Okay,
wow. Okay, and what does it say towards your right hand? Right shoulder.
Did you make your donation today?
Okay, so it's a call to action.
It is.
Got it. All right. That's good stuff. Okay, so my next question is basically, how has the culture of your companies changed from early stage to these like hyper growth companies? Because I feel like there's been definitely a stage of acceleration, but in addition to that, like what have been some of the challenges that you faced when you're growing, like on a fairly fast scale?
Yeah, for our case, it was like a huge challenge because when you start to open a new countries and hire a lot of people, how to keep your culture alive, how to structure all the process. Because at the beginning, it is you have the founders, you have the people, you are more a generalist that you deal with all the problems, you deal with the clients, with the partners, with tech, like you know a little bit of everything, and you are willing to deploy new projects, be responsible for everything. As soon as you start to a hyper growth, first of all, you need to create more specialization. So you be on the owner of one small box, but at this small box you have much more details, much more scale, much more challenge, but it's just one box, not the whole business that before you had more generalists that you were doing. So this transition to create more specialized functions, keep the culture, because as soon as you're hiring more people, how you organize that and have all the structure for it, because small things like what it is the documentation of this process, what kind of computer you can buy. Like you never specify that at the beginning, but you need these policies, like what I could buy or not, what it is my reimbursement policies that, okay, reimburse what you want, but when you are getting in different countries, okay, yeah, we need to standardize that, we need to create process, we need to create tools that before was not there. So the back end, it's really important. It is a huge challenge because at the beginning you are more focused on we need to sell more, we need to get more clients, we need to prove our business model, we need to get traction. When you are getting up to scale, okay, you need to fix your house. You need to create all the process policies, you need to create specialization that always it is tough because the people at the beginning, okay, but we are not used to do that. We're not used to have a lot of approvals. We're not used to have a lot of process, but now you need it. And the transition, it is tough for the people at the beginning from afterwards, how to become and organize that. And should we focus our effort technology to fix our house or to expand the business? So it's a huge trade-off as well. So it's not easy. Definitely, it is a mess more than the beginning, but it is a huge trade-off.
Yeah, that structure, especially for a startup, is not the easiest thing to welcome into everybody's arms. So I completely feel you on that. I feel like I'm still going through that, even though AngelHack's been around since 2012. So thank you for that, João. Renan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess the challenges are very similar for coming from an early stage to a hyper growth company. And it's interesting because I talk to people who started with iFood many years ago, and they always tell me these stories like, hey, remember when we were in this small house, not in this fancy office, and things like that, and things that were sloppier than it is today. So it is. I think we started using the word sloppy, and trying to get the best product for the customers. But we are very intentional in not bureaucratizing, not creating red tapes for our company. We avoid policies. We really believe that it's part of our culture, believing that this company is made of huge talent density with very responsible adults that will take care of the company and will put iFood and the customers in front of every decision. So based on that, we really avoid creating red tapes. Of course, we are accountable for the results, and we need to present our results to shareholders, and shareholders want to see a level of compliance that is reasonable, and we comply with that. But we are really intentional on keeping our company as as much as possible as our old days in the garage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to
How
both
quick
of you,
question.
yeah, please go.
Sorry, I just want to ask, how do you balance that? I mean, from velocity versus bureaucracy, when do you choose this is the moment to be more a bureaucrat, this is the moment to, to speed up? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, yeah. It's again goes back to the trade-off. If we want to have all the control, we're going to become a very slow company. If we want to be ultra fast, we're going to have to avoid a number of controls that we cannot avoid. So we choose what requires a stronger control and what does not. Just an example, travel policy. We don't have a travel policy. A procurement policy. We don't have a procurement policy. So these are kind of just two simple examples that show how we like to operate.
Mm-hmm. So as you scale, like at what point in time do you feel like these are going to be absolute, imperatives that you apply as you're growing? Because that's, I think, again, it's part of that startup unicorn progression is when do we actually not enforce, whatever the word is, to make sure that we have this in place as the team grows. So there is structure.
Probably listing your company is a big milestone for certain type of control, especially on financial reporting.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even when we list, we don't want to become a bureaucratic company.
Mm-hmm. You can put your son on camera. We're good with that.
Little Wonder Woman just left the.
Oh, Wonder Woman. Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh.
For me, I think like it's always will be a trade-off, and never you have the right answer because it is difficult. But for me, it is the question that okay, if you have something, if I have 10 people doing something, or if you have 1,000, this is gonna work. This is manageable. When it's not manageable, what you are doing when you have a huge scale or you need to define process, guidelines, or a certain structure, even systems in order to be scalable. Because what is the problem? Always, you have zero system, you have zero control at the beginning, and always, most of the time you do manually. And always it is the trade-off. Should we invest our development time for our product to customers or internally? It is a trade-off always. So when you think, okay, what we are doing now, if I have 100 customers, if we have 100,000 customers, this is gonna work? No, that's not gonna work. So you should start to fix and organize a process or a model or even a guideline in order to do that.
Mm-hmm. Start to think ahead, because it definitely is a chicken and egg. Like you want to get that technically before you think about it, because you just don't want to get ahead of yourself. So it makes a lot of sense.
Number of employees and other stuff, because when you have a lot of examples or the word of mouth works, it is good to not have policy and you have your culture that will align that. But for example, in our case, that we had a different challenge that we had operations like in 12 different countries. What kind of hotel should I buy? Or I can stay in 5 stars, 2 stars or not. We bring one guy that usually travel or work in a consultant firm that always have a high standard. So their standard is much higher than our standard that it's here. Okay, we cannot spend this, and why those guys could be there and another ones are trying to save. So it is difficult to have those trade-offs, and it is small things, but in the end, it is good or not, it is a trade-off that the policies or the way that we always like to think, it is scalable or not. If Gympass would be 10 times bigger, this gonna work? If no, let's try to figure out what it is, the right guidelines or systems or how to automate things in order to be more scalable and more sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if I understand, like some of those trade-offs are also just like about negotiating, like who kind of gets what, or like how you just navigate through that process. So I think this might bring me to my next question, maybe not, but how has access to venture capital changed in the region, basically Latin America? Oh, well, actually, how has it changed from when you guys started? So 2011, 2012, what has actually changed in the whole venture capital world when it comes to investment?
Well, I think it is a different game. Like it's not comparable. It is a whole different history because before in Brazil, it's mainly US based funds. You had very few Brazilian funds or funds with Brazilian operation. You had some angels that it's not a very well defined what it is, the role, how to do it. So it was very difficult to get funding. And nowadays, even the scenario that we have much more capital flow into Brazil, Latin America, we have success case that the previous or the initial funds bringing a very good results and good returns to investments, creating the credibility that the people you deliver good results, you have the opportunity, you have sustainable growth. So it is the whole history that we started to create, like 2011, 2012, like this first cohort of companies that have become unicorns in Latin America to support the whole ecosystem. Because not only the people who invested at the beginning that got a very positive exit is okay, it is possible. So let's start to do that. So you create good examples, you create better conditions and a good environment to give more trust and stability for the investors. So for me, it is a different game nowadays. You have the main funds are big funds with a lot of money just dedicated to Latin America. This is a very good news and shows the importance and the opportunity in the region. And also good exits, very sustainable. We have the first IPOs. We have IPOs in US. We have IPOs in Brazil. So it is a good market. There are potential and also the opportunity for those investments to get the return on it. So
yeah, Renan, I also want to hear your thoughts, but like,
nowadays.
gotcha. Okay. So do you feel that the direction that a lot of like young Latin Americans are going to, are they feeding into that funnel? Like, are they, as far as the crop that you're getting, is that complementary to what the expectation is?
Oh, for sure, right? If you have seen like year by year, we are getting records in investment or the amount of money invested and also the number of deals. So it's not concentrated just in a few companies. Also, the number of deals are increasing a lot, and year by year, you're reaching the top of the annual record. So this is very positive. And sector, so much more offer, more talent. This is really important. So link it with your one of the first questions that are good people moving to this sector for entrepreneurship, to having better talent. So everything supports and helps this growth.
Excellent. Renan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with João. I think this is we're living a great combination of talent density, a huge market in Brazil, and money being virtual free, right, or cheap, very cheap money. And what happened to the cohort that is being successful in those exits attract more investors. Great example is a Caseca closed a fund this week, $1 billion fund, and pretty fast this week. We have SoftBank with the Latin America Vision Fund. So it shows that the work that was done in the past 10 years paid off, and those investors will continue betting in this region. It's a very interesting region in terms of size and market potential and growth. So it is definitely an interesting place for investors to be.
Okay, so it does sound like talent is more or less meeting demand. There's definitely been, I think, a spurt of growth when it comes to, or at least openness when it comes to startups and the entrepreneurial spirit, which I've heard in the past has, kind of been not so welcomed. So my next question is, what do you like most about starting a company in Latin America? And what do you like least? Actually, I want to know both.
Well, I think what I like most it is the opportunities that we have. We have a lot of problems to be solved. So it's a very good place to start. So there are a lot of opportunities in different sectors that you can work and help a lot of people on it. I think that it's bad, like at the technology side, there's a huge lack of talent from technology, but also universities, it is a systemic problem that we need to fix, but it will take time to improve. It's not a easy solution that we can solve that. And also the bureaucracy, political instability, Latin America, we still have a lot of problems with that, affects a lot of fluctuation that we have not only in Brazil, but other markets. This really, we have a much more complexity to deal than all the others, with a political instability, FX issues. So, okay, we are growing our revenues, but in the end, in dollars, we are decreasing. And why? Oh, because of that fact. So how you adjust that, how you deal with the investments, the investors, and how you compare yourself with another competitors or external ones or foreigner companies. So this is something that definitely not help us to grow the company.
Okay. But I think what you said at the beginning was so poignant and makes so much sense. Like there's so many opportunities for solutions. And from there, companies can grow out of that, ideas can grow out of that, and solutions grow out of that. So there's again, so much opportunity to just create a solution around something that seems every day. And people are like, this doesn't work, but they don't necessarily ask themselves the other question of like, how can I make it better? And that's kind of part of what the spirit of a startup, what the spirit of like an entrepreneur comes up with is like, how can I solve this very basic problem? Not solve it, but like, how can I address it? Renan, what are your thoughts just in terms of, what do you like and what do you like least about working within the Latin American industry?
Probably we didn't think about it at the beginning. It all started with this market opportunity, trying to solve or address an issue for clients in getting their food delivered at their doorstep in a matter of minutes. But once you start growing, as I said before, you realize your role in society, and having this ability to impact a large number of people in a country or in a region such as Latin America becomes a great goal, right? Or a great dream to have. So I think this will be the best part of starting a startup. And I think João was to the point, right? Making business in Latin America, as once said, it's not for amateurs. It's very challenging. Red tapes and government and a huge tax burden and FX fluctuation. So there is I think the environment is much better now than it used to be in the past, but there's a lot to happen.
Okay, well, that actually segues to our next question, because I'm curious if you do foresee that red tape, that bureaucracy, the government, whatever the case may be, like kind of falling to the wayside, or at least being more open, welcoming, and kind of unhinging in a sense to allow those opportunities more and more. So my question is, what areas of opportunity do you see for Latin America in the next 10 years? Or in another way to put that, how do you see it? How would you like to see it? What is your vision? What is your hope? And just honestly, what is your like cynical view of like what Latin America will look like in the next 10 years when it comes to like this space?
Um, I still see lots of opportunities around e-commerce. In Brazil, e-commerce still very underpenetrated. It represents 10% of overall retail in Brazil. If you zoom in groceries, it's just 4%. So there's a lot to happen there, and when you think about e-commerce, there's a logistics aspect of it which needs to be developed in Brazil, or the mail company, the main mail company in Brazil. It's a public owned organization that will be hopefully privatized in the coming months. So there's a huge opportunity for that to be developed around e-commerce. When you think about banking, the bank system in Brazil, again, around e-commerce, there's a lot to be developed for those who do not have access to bank or to credit, from sellers to clients, right? And finally, a space that is very near and dear to me, which is the healthcare space. I think health tech is something that there's a huge opportunity in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
From the cost to access good healthcare in especially in Brazil, and the level of service that people get, and this became very evident during this terrible pandemic.
Mm.
No, I agree with Renan. I think like not only I don't know if it's right to say the traditional ones like edtechs, fintechs, banking, e-commerce, that we already have a lot of companies, and we still have a lot of opportunities to be developed in Latin America. But I would love to see more innovation in government, in public sector, judiciary, because we have dinosaurs. We have a very inefficient ways to deal with bureaucracy, internal bureaucracy, how to open companies, how to transact everything, how to deal with taxes. Taxes in Latin America, it's a nightmare for everybody. So I would love to see, we don't have big names on those sectors, public, taxes, legal companies, like we still don't have big names
Mm-hmm.
in Latin America, and I would love to see for the next 10 years, because the improvement and the good that they could do for the population is huge. We
Mm-hmm.
could generate a huge impact. And all the others that we already have a lot of good companies working on it, trying to disrupt other sectors, but this will be, if I would start again, I would try to do the good on it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think would speak most to that sector? You know, that very slow moving, slow process sector that is the government, that is, you know, whatever it may be. Do you think that they'll react to these companies, these unicorns emerging? Do you think that they'll see the value in it? Do you think it's more about incorporating them? What do you think is going to really make that transition or that change? In your mind, just in your opinion?
Unfortunately, it is just the willingness to do something good for the population. Instead of trying to do something short term to get votes and be promoted internally to win the next election, start to do everything good. If we have someone willing to do good and open the system and allow different people, not the government, not the fixed structure and everything to support and start to build, that could appear amazing things and amazing opportunities in this sector. But not only that, we need to start. And everything's different and everything's difficult. If no one starts, face the challenge, see how it works, get a one good example, get the second one, the third one, the fourth one, we need to start. And we need to find the brave people who are willing to disrupt the sector, that it's really important and could have a huge impact on everybody. So for me, this is the point. It's not easy. You depend on the people that are there to be, instead of short-term mindset with a long-term mindset, but we hope, let's see if we're able to get some people that are open-minded, are willing to do good for the population, that are for sure there are a ton of people willing to help and willing to work towards the goodwill of people.
Absolutely. Going against the grain has always produced amazing, well, not always, but it's produced a lot of amazing results in the past. But it does take courage and bravery, like you mentioned. And it takes time too. Okay, well, I'll leave that at that. That's heavy. So, okay, so in addition to that, like if you weren't working in this sector, what other industries would you be excited to have in Latin America? So if it wasn't the health sector, you know, if it wasn't like the delivery food sector, what do you think is one of those areas that are kind of coming up and growing fast and has potential in your mind?
I would love to work with education. I think this could transform our society and generate an amazing results, how to be more efficient, how to be more democratic, bring different knowledge. Today, our structure, our knowledge in the schools are prehistoric. No one understands how to work with digital marketing, communication, programming, this will change everything. So we need to change the way that everything it's made and how to get the interest of the young people and how to change the mindset for the new world, the new economy, being more digital. And also we need to bring that to the education. Also, if we have that, if we push towards the education, we can solve a lot of problems with inequality, poverty, a lot of issues that we have a ton here in Latin America, and this will be the driver for people to get a better life. So for me, it will be that. Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's so exciting to hear João talking about education. I agree, it's it's a growth engine for any nation. I also love the health sector. Brazil, it's a 220 million people country. Out of that, 47 million people have access to private healthcare. The other portion has access to public healthcare, which is reasonable depending on which part of the country you are. And so there's a lot to happen there. The way the private sector, healthcare sector in Brazil, it's built, it's unsustainable. Basically, health insurance companies are financial operators, billing customers and collecting from healthcare providers. And any additional cost is therefore transferred to all the beneficiaries. So this is unsustainable. Well, one day this will eventually break. So having a more dedicated healthcare system that cater to each individual, that takes care of the health of the individual, that acts on prevention. I think it's a great will be a great solution for this broken system that Brazil currently has, and I know other countries in Latin America face the same problem.
Yeah, so it could be applied there potentially easily. I mean,
Absolutely,
okay.
absolutely, yeah.
All right, so just on a personal note, so we saw your little one, Renan, come around. I did anyways. And then João, it looks like you have some little ones behind you. I don't know if those are 2020 babies. I'm very curious, but we've all went through 2020. We went through COVID, blah, 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 blah. How did you guys make it through it? Like not only as, I guess, family folks, but then also as people leading or being part of the leading team of these types of organizations, you know, that are growing rapidly, that are doing your own things. I'm really curious how this, honestly, just on a personal note, not even like on a, you know, professional wavelength, how this past year has been for both of you.
Yeah, for me, really challenging. Like we are so passionate, like with what we do with people, the company, the challenges that we are facing, and also we always have someone that holds our back, and it's to recognize and give the awareness of it. So in my case, my family, like my personal life was a mess. My kid, like Samuel, he was born in France, and Isa, the second one, was born in Italy. Like they moved already, and they travel more than I
did.
when I was 30 years old already. So a lot of moves and travel, how to manage that, and mainly how to recognize and give the awareness of our family, how important they are for us, and how to balance that. Because always we say, okay, we need to create our the balance between the personal life and professional life, but it's difficult. It's really difficult, and I struggle a lot, like a lot of burdens to, okay, I'm working a lot, I need to dedicate time for my family. I have one with 3, and then these are 1 year and a half. So, okay, when it's time to, what I have to say no, it is difficult, because always when you are growing, okay, you need to do this, you need to change, we need to expand, we need to do more. The family is also demanding a lot. We need more time, we need a quality time. So I think here the challenge is what you have to say no. And always you have your to-do list that will be huge. Always you have 100 items, and you continue with 100 items, and no one will die with that. So how to balance and say no for different things in order to achieve this balance. So for me, it was really challenging, demanded a lot from us during the COVID, to change, pivot the company, how we organize. You can imagine like all the partners and our ecosystem was really affected by COVID. The opposite side of iFood, that okay, everybody needs even more their service. In our case, okay, how we can survive. So it was a different position, but how to allocate time for myself, how to allocate time to my family, how to allocate time for the work, and guarantee and have the discipline on it, because it's important. And most of the time, you allocate time for your family and the work, and not for yourself.
For yourself, yeah.
You forget about it, and the bill will come for sure.
Yeah, it'll chase you, it'll follow you. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one personal thing. You can answer this how you want. What is one thing that you do personally that recharges you? For
me, it is have my reflection time, and I have my agenda like one morning or one afternoon.
Alone time, basically.
Alone time. So
yes.
Problems, or for myself, want to do something for a hobby or whatever, it is for me, and that's it.
Yeah.
This is important, that at least for myself.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, Renan, I'm dying to hear from you too, because I think this is so interesting, because this is a topic that is definitely growing in conversation as far as, you know, how do we balance everything? So what's your take?
Yeah, it was also a challenge from not different from João and I believe from everyone who had to transition from going to an office to staying at home. So huge kudos to my wife who really supported that during this time with two kids. I have a 5-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. And staying at home with them for this time was not easy. But I eventually realized that this was a unique opportunity that maybe I would never have again to spend time with them. So once I realized that, I think it changed my perspective a lot. I started to enjoy, right, the ability to have my kids and the other in the next room and seeing them, between meetings or having lunch together. Not sure I'm going to have this opportunity again. But it's not easy, and leading teams virtually is also a big challenge, right? There are a number of people in my team whom I've never seen, and having the ability to making sure that the culture stays and they follow the culture, but at the same time respecting and being empathetic towards the reality that they're facing at home as well, just as I am facing, right? It's also an important task. And probably the way what I used to unwind is spending time with my wife after putting the kids in bed, and just having an interesting conversation and catching up with some quiet time is the best way to recharge the batteries.
Yes, it's a good welcome, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, well, fantastic. That actually makes me think of a question that, and I know we want to get to Q&A, so I want to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible, but I'm just morbidly curious. What, as leaders in your companies, would you say to the folks who are working in Gympass and iFood as far as like working remotely? And it can be across the board, but I think everybody's dealing with a learning curve right now. And they're also just trying to understand what leadership expects of them, what they expect of themselves. Again, to what you guys were all just talking about right now, what advice, if any, would you give from your perspective? Regardless of like where they are in their lives right now, working remotely, working for an organization, a startup, just like yourselves.
For me, the most important is guarantee that and be very repetitive that everybody makes the difference. So their work, it's important. They make the difference for the company and they make the difference for the people that they are helping on it. Because when you are outside the office, it is difficult when, okay, I'm at home and what I'm doing, it is the screen or not. So no, you make the difference. You are important and you have a very important role. Whatever you do, whatever area, that you are making the difference for the people. So I think this is the most important part, to motivate people to get engaged and guarantee that they belong from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Purpose, as João said, became a huge glue for us, and as we were deemed essential in Brazil, it highlights even more the importance of our employees or individuals. We are becoming more and more mindful of mental health in our employees, and it is hard to capture burnout or to figure out whether your people in your team are burning out because you are in this virtual scenario. So again, empathy is it is very important, and having the ability to create a space of openness where those individuals can share that the stress level is reaching unreasonable levels is something that we are working hard on, but it's not easy at all, right? But we are becoming more and more mindful of those type of issues, and working with our leaderships to have frank conversations about taking time out, taking vacation, resting, because it's if you look at the way we work, it's at 24/7 between work and life, and it's everything under the same roof. It's a 24/7 routine now.
Right. Okay, well, that is awesome. I really appreciate you guys going through all these questions that we had for you. This was awesome. I'm going to hand it over to Aaron because I do believe that the folks that are on our chat had some questions as well. So Aaron, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, well, thank you both for all the insights. I mean, professionally and personally too. We have a couple of questions from our audience. I'm gonna go to the chat. The first one is for both of you. Is what are some of the most common mistakes new founders at Latin America make, and what to look for? I don't know who wants to go first.
There are so many, but I think the biggest mistakes is hiring people like not based on the culture fit, but with their experience and other things that are not necessarily will fit or will solve the problem. I think the hiring, it is crucial, and when you do something wrong, it really hurts you in the end. And,
Yeah. Something that I saw occurring in the past was doing the copycat of what's going on in North America or Europe, or to some extent Southeast Asia or China, and trying to repeat it in Brazil. It's not necessarily the best formula. Brazil or Latin America, it's such a very specific region, and I've heard many times, I want to be the Uber of XYZ, or I want to be the Gympass of XYZ, but not fully comprehending the reality of the region. It is a mistake.
So basically like a copy paste from solutions from the US or Europe, right?
Yeah. Not considering the intricacies of the region.
Great, thanks for that.
So
well,
can I ask a question, Aaron? Sorry.
Yeah, go.
Okay, sorry. So are there any unique identifiers, or, I mean, again, if this is somebody who's local, who is very familiar with the culture, the process, the problems, how they can distinguish themselves from something that works versus something that still needs a solution, and then how to, like, kind of go forward and address that. Do you think that is there like a mentality or a different way to look at something that maybe we don't always think about?
I believe some ideas are screaming at you. Of course, it will be very easy for me to bring some examples, but I will do that. I think a great example is what Nubank is doing in Brazil right now, in Latin America. But the way customers have been treated by the large banks in Latin America is just I think that the idea was screaming at us, right, for the whole time. And Nubank saw the opportunity. Of course, this is a huge market. It's a huge total addressable market. And we're talking about lots of profitability in the banking sector. But the problem was there, and it was screaming at everyone. And they have the strength, the grit to go there and pick up a fight with large organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Want to add something, João?
I think like you need to be realistic, and something that we always, an exercise that we do internally to identify these ideas or how to pursue something. It is understand like, okay, you have the supply and demand. The problem that you are solving for the supply here for something, it is relevant. They are better with you than without you. They could copy you, they could replicate easily what you are doing or what we're intending to do. If the answer it is they are better, they are not able to copy easily, and their scale on what I'm doing, and they are in a better position, not only for the supply and the demand. If you are able to answer that in a very realistic way, I think there is a worthwhile idea that you need to pursue, that there is value on what you're doing. But if, okay, they could copy, there's another company that are doing, it is money that I will determine if they're successful or not. Like for me, it is difficult to pursue. But if you're able, okay, they're better, I'm solving a relevant problem, they're not able to do that without myself, it is a good sign that it could be a good idea. But also, the most important part is the execution in the end.
Thank you both. But the next question is interesting. It is, I would like to find out if you see more LATAM startups going international. If so, which other region do you see LATAM startups expanding into, and what are the potential challenges? Who wants to
Probably
go first?
Yeah.
João has a much better international story than I.
Oh, I think Latin America itself, it's already a huge market, and there are a lot of to be captured already. Okay, so there are a lot of room to work and guarantee that you expand successfully in Latin America. If you want to go to another markets, is to guarantee that you understand the culture, the difference, and the challenge that the time that you want to dedicate for other markets, and also guarantee that you keep the speed and the pace of the execution where you are. So it is amazing to see a lot of companies expanding internationally. It is a movement, and it is a process, takes time. You do a lot of mistakes, but also the same way as American company or European company will do the international expansion. It is just a matter of structure and the business that have the potentiality to be applicable in another markets. So it is resilience, structure, and capacity of execution. So all the companies could be overseas. It's just a matter of execute well or better than others.
Yeah, it is. I will also consider the competitive landscape in each of those countries in Latin America. In our case, we tried an international expansion to Argentina and Mexico, and we eventually sold the business. We have a pretty sizable business in Colombia. We actually we will soon become the market leader in that country. But in our competitive landscape, you have 2, 3, 4 big competitors that are somehow global competitors. So you have to be mindful of where you want to compete. And in our case, we chose to focus in Brazil and in Colombia.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you both. We're going to have one more question. This is from Dennis Gomez. And he said, first of all, congrats on your career path, especially for being in different segments and companies. In this sense, which is the main difference about develop and retain people in startups versus traditional companies in regards to the pretty little Wonder Woman Renan? Okay.
Mhm.
Who wants to go first this time?
I can go first and just say hello to my good friend Dennis. I think it goes back to the first question, and when João answered by saying that there's a big motivation of employees to build for this new talent to build something big or be part of something that can become bigger and have an impact or the ability to make an impact. This is a fantastic way to retain employees in startups, right? So becoming or staying relevant, staying important, and empowering your employees for them to make an impact it's a great recipe for success for retaining employees in startups. Of course, you have the carrot in front of you of a possible exit, a successful exit, and things like that. But people want to make an impact and be relevant on what they're doing. Whereas from my experience in large organizations, you go back to benefits or a career or a structured career path. I think that resonates with more with large organizations versus a startup, right? A startup will not have the ability to show a career path, but will have the ability to give you all the bandwidth that you need or all the opportunities that you want to make a meaningful work.
Yeah, I agree with Renan, but something that's really important for a startup, the need of this internal development is huge, because when you are in a hyper growth, the needs that you had 1 year before in the next year will be totally different. Like the scale, the capabilities, or the landscape that you are working on it. So it's really important to give this opportunity and this flexibility for the employees and develop them, because differently from traditional company, as Renan said, the career path, you're the analyst, you're coordinator, manager, director, blah. Sometimes you are an analyst, and 1 year afterwards, you have a huge responsibility that not even a director in another company or traditional company you have. But the time, this 1 year, it's not enough to develop these skills, the leadership skills, or the complexity that you have to deal with. So this transition is really important, it's really tough. So the awareness is really important, and the capability and the opportunity that a company will give to the employees for this development, it's really important. So it's a lot of moving parts that for some, it's amazing because it's a playground with a lot of opportunities, but for the other ones that are willing to have this structure, this career path, and what do you do next year? What I could expect? Potentially, those people will not have a good fit and will not feel good working for a startup or for this environment, because you could see this informality or these challenges or the lack of career path as an opportunity or a downside that you don't know how to expect. So it's a way of life almost that I like to say. If you want to pursue this path or take this challenge, it's amazing. There are a lot of opportunities. But on another side, if you're expecting a more designed path, what to expect, what you have to deliver, it is difficult to define. So it is a huge development, but also the way that everyone or the person would expect their own development during this path.
Well, I thank you both. I think we can follow up this conversation for 1 more hour, but we want to respect your time too. So I want to thank Renan. I want to thank you, João, for this conversation. We have a lot of learnings, and our community is really delightful with all they learn from this panel. I don't know if you want to add something, Diana.
No, just thank you so much for being on this, and thank you everybody for joining. Yeah, it was really interesting to get your guys' perspective and learn a little bit more about the ecosystem essentially, and about your journey from where you started to where you are now, which is insanely amazing. So I thank you so much for sharing that with us and answering our questions. It was really great to talk to you both.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Good luck with those little ones.
We need.
Thank you, Deanna. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Renan. Thank you, João.
Well, good evening. Thank you both.
Right.